Hey, what's going on, guys? Do you remember us? It's time for another episode of the Ringside Rundown podcast. My name is Eric Vasquez, and joining me on the line is my podcasting partner in crime. Yes, that rhymes. Coming straight out of the Berg, she is Shay Hickson. Shay, what's going on, my friend?
What is going on? It has been not too terribly long, a couple weeks, but it feels like an eternity.
Yeah,
It's
we,
been a
we took
little while.
we took a nice little break from the podcast, but we were still closely tied to wrestling. You went to the 5-year anniversary show for Dynamite. I've been busy with the Twitch streams and the YouTube stuff. So even though we took a break from the podcast, we were still working in the wrestling stuff, and now we decided it's time to bring it back, to bring back the feeling, to restore the feeling, as Will Ospreay would say.
Yeah, we were coming back. I mean, I feel like even when we take breaks, we never fully escape wrestling.
No.
It's always there in some way, shape, or form. So
Yeah, that
we
is,
were doing it. We were having fun.
yeah.
I was sneaking in your streams here and there. It was doing good, and finally found me on TV after like
Yeah.
literally the whole. It took you all night, and I loved how halfway through Okada and Danielson was when you finally found us. I'm like, well, thank
Yeah.
God,
It was interesting. It was like playing Where's Waldo in like real
literally.
life, and it was a lot of fun actually trying to spot you in the crowd. And I'm glad I was able to, because I have horrible eyesight.
Yeah, I was doing my best because we kept like looking up on the screen, and I'm like, I don't know how else to like describe where we were. I'm just like, okay, we're up by the wall, but look by the stairs and the railing, and look for this beanie and this shirt, and it worked eventually. There.
Yeah, it did. I actually ended up finding you guys on TV, and that was a pretty funny moment because I was on stream like freaking out when I actually found you. I was like, I found them. I felt like I won the lottery or something.
And it was so funny because I freaked you out a little bit where I'm just like, all right, hold on, we're gonna do I don't even remember what it was. I think we waved and you're like, oh shit, I caught
Mhm.
that. I'm like, yeah, that was that was for you guys on stream. Like
Yeah.
we were getting there.
That was awesome. That was awesome. But for anybody that's new here, that is checking out the Ringside Rundown podcast for the first time, welcome. Thank you for checking us out. And we are a professional wrestling podcast where we talk about what's going on in the world of WWE, AEW, and anything else that's happening in wrestling that is of importance. Usually, what we do is we take all of your questions in the entire episode. We're answering your questions and voicing your opinions about what's going on in wrestling. But today we're going to do something a little different. Like we said, we took a little bit of time off from the podcast. So to get us back into the groove of things, we're going to take it a little easy, and we're going to be talking about the AEW pay-per-view that just happened this past weekend, AEW WrestleDream. It was in Tacoma, Washington. What a show it was. It was long. It was long. It was it didn't feel like All In or All Out that were equally as massive in card size, but they kind of felt like a breeze. This
Yeah.
one felt like the typical AEW pay-per-view that was like, my God, it's too many matches on the card.
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, I didn't get to watch it live because what the hell was I doing on Saturday? I was doing something. It's just
You
sad
were
that
having a life.
I was doing something Saturday night. I'm trying to remember what it was, but anyway, I didn't get to watch it fully.
Right.
I'm fully blanking on what I was doing. I'm sure mom will correct me at some point on what we were doing. I had some plan somewhere, not in my apartment, so I didn't get to watch it live. So I did end up getting to rewatch it literally 2 hours ago before we started doing this. So it's
Wow.
fresh in my mind.
It is fresh.
Although I did kind of have to, I'm not going to say skip through every match. I was like kind of going here and there, finding the big moments and whatever. Because, like you
Right.
said, AEW has this bad habit of, yeah, it had, not counting the pre show, 8 matches. So I'm like, that's a pretty, like, okay card. It's decent. It's not like 15 like it used to be.
Right.
However, they do love stretching those 8 matches out to 4 fucking hours of wrestling. There was a promo here and there, so it's like whatever. But also, I'm just like,
Yeah.
guys, you're just killing us. Like the fact that it was almost what I think 11:30 by the time the main event came on. I'm just like, that would have been fucking insane for anybody watching it live. Like, I don't know how you did it because it's just it's fatigue. Like, and then you wonder why the crowd looks and feels dead towards the main events
Yeah.
because you have just run them through the ringer, and you
Right.
haven't even gotten to the best part yet. And this was no different. But besides that, though, it was a pretty decent pay per view. I mean,
Mhm.
AEW kind of has a formula of out of most of the matches on the card, there's maybe a couple here and there where you're like, I'm not sure why this is here. This should have been on a Dynamite or Rampage or Collision or something. And unfortunately, this card was no different. There were a
Mhm.
couple where I'm just like, these are good. They're not really pay-per-view good, but they're here. It's fine. But we'll get to that later. But overall, it was a pretty solid show, I think.
It was, and just a little disclaimer: if you want even more thoughts on AEW Wrestle Dream after you listen to this episode of the podcast on whatever platform you're using, you could head over to YouTube, and YouTube is like an extended version of our thoughts on or my thoughts on AEW Wrestle Dream in video form, and I'll get to that at the end of the show. But let's get right into it because like you said, there were matches that were great and there were some matches on the card that you were like, this probably could have been better on a Dynamite or a Collision.
Yeah.
First off, we had to start the show, we had Switchblade Jay White returning, and he's with Juice Robinson, who escorts him out to take on Hangman Adam Page. Now this was very interesting because this kind of came together rather quickly, and you think, like I said, the dynamic between, you have the psychotic cowboy and Hangman Adam Page, and you kind of had like the pseudo s cowboy who's running a kind of cowboy group in the Bang Bang Gang in Jay White. So it was an interesting dynamic. You can kind of see like they would probably make like a good tag team,
Oh yeah.
or they would work together in a stable. They're almost cut from the same cloth. Like they look like they would fit together very well, and they're actually opponents in this one. And this match was super physical, a lot of nasty shots. One of the ones in particular that made me wince was when they were fighting on the rampway,
Mm.
and
Ugh.
Switchblade hits Hangman with that knee breaker on the ramp. I was
Whew.
just like, oh, that one sounded like it hurt.
Yeah, that one and the power bomb on the steps didn't help
Oh
either.
yeah,
That
yeah, the power
was
bomb on the steps was crazy.
whoo, that was a great start to the pay-per-view first off. Like that one was um wild, but it wasn't like 0 to 60 from the start of the bell. It was
Right.
slow. It was like methodical. It was just hard hitting. Great start when Jay White like slap Hangman because you knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. He was trying to get in his head, and it worked because Hangman just, for lack of a better term, that entire match pretty much beat the shit out of Switchblade, and I felt bad because it was just like, give the guy a break already. Holy shit. But
Mhm.
I'm glad that the crowd understood the assignment and for the most part booed the shit out of Hangman and cheered Switchblade like they should. Um the the one thing that kind of stood out to me too was this it was such a simple little thing and you would think it's just so minute but just Jay does it so well was Hangman was going to hit him and it was during I think I'm trying to remember it was about halfway through I think when he was going for the buckshot and literally Jay White just walks out of the way. Just walked over to the corner, just like, yeah, no, we're not doing this. Like
Yeah.
he understands that for that move to hit effectively, you have to be dead center in the ring. You can't be
Right.
too close to Hangman, you can't be far away from him. So he's like, nope, I'm just gonna go in the corner. I'm just gonna walk away. And it seems so again, so stupid, so silly, but it was brilliant. It was just that just is a testament to Jay White's like in ring IQ. It's just he knows what to do and how to do it in a way where it's just so simple yet so effective. And that was pretty much just this match in a nutshell where there was nothing too over the top aside from again the power bomb on the stairs and that knee breaker on the ramp, which was ugh, that's it's still making my skin crawl just thinking about it. But I'm glad that it ended the way it did
Yes.
because if you would have had Jay White lose that match, I would have screamed. I would have fucking screamed because that just would have been like par for the course, honestly, with the way they'd been booking him up until he got hurt. Because it was just
Right.
like, why are you guys doing this the way you're doing? Like, this is Switchblade Jay White we're talking about. What the fuck's going on? But the fact that he got some measure of revenge, I'm like, thank God, because I get you want Hangman to be credible, and it's just like I'm not sure what more he could have done. Like a win over Jay would have made no sense. Like, okay, he's still mad at the world for just existing, and people still cheer Swerve, and people he was getting pissed at the crowd because they were taunting him with Swerve's chant.
Mm,
He had no business winning that match, and thank God he didn't, because now maybe, just maybe, we can get back to like the real Switchblade, and I think we know who he's going after next. We
uh,
know he's got to go after Christian. Like,
mm,
that's easily, and it's the very obvious number two choice, because Hangman cost him his shot at the Owen, and
right.
then if you think about it, Christian was the one that technically, quote unquote, put him out of action for a while, because he's the one that cost him his last match, and we hadn't
That's
seen him
true.
since.
That's true. You're right about that. I was just honestly, I was very surprised in particular when it pertains to the match at a WrestleDream that they actually did give the win to Jay White over Hangman and Page. Like
Yeah,
I wasn't when I say surprise, it was like it's not a surprise like, oh, you know, it doesn't make sense. Like, oh, it definitely still made sense. I just was
yeah,
surprised, especially the way it happened. Hangman going for the buckshot lariat and getting caught into the Blade Runner. I thought that was super creative. You
yeah,
know, I thought that was really, really a creative way to make it happen and make the fans go, wait, what just happened? And then it happened, and you're like, wow, because literally I was just like, we were watching it in Discord, and we were all just like, did that really just happen?
yeah.
Like so, but it was a pretty cool moment because again, I said like you said earlier, Jay White is a big time player. He deserves to be on the big stage. He can sort of be that poster person for AEW that you can put the world title on eventually, and he would do great things for the company. So I was really surprised. As far as the match, I gave it a 4 out of 5 flames. What about you?
Oh, 3 3/4 flames.
3 3/4. All right, so we're again like usual, sort
Usual.
of. Yeah, there's usually for those that are, you know, new and haven't listened. Anytime we rate any matches with our flame rating, because we don't do stars here. Come
No,
on, it's
no,
2024.
we're different.
But anytime we do a rating, we're usually Shay and I about there's about a quarter of a rating difference. So
Literally,
yeah,
it's strange, but if we would be vastly different, I think we would be very worried, and I think everybody that knows us would be very concerned. So it's par
correct.
for the course.
Correct, correct. Now, I know you have thoughts about this next match as well, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was Mariah May defending the AEW Women's World Championship against Willow Nightingale. This match kind of solidified why Mariah May is one of my favorite performers in all of wrestling because she
Yes.
goes out there and she defies what you think you see a very pretty, probably the most beautiful blonde woman on the face of
Yeah.
this earth,
Yeah.
and she goes out there and she wrestles these matches and she throws these strikes, these
Hmm.
forearms, these drop kicks, these punches with such force and ferocity. It's just wow, like she really has brought over that Joshi style of wrestling to the states and made it like a mainstay. Like this is what we should expect from all of the women when they go out there. Make it as believable as someone like Mariah May does. And then on the flip side, you look at Willow Nightingale, and like I said in the video, like she's usually like jovial, happy to be there. You don't
No.
think of her as someone that can go out there and beat the shit out of somebody. And that's exactly what she did against Mariah May. Like these ladies went out there and threw down.
I loved it. I love that match. It was what I fully expected from both of them. Like they they just work together so well. They have a great chemistry. Another thing that I was like gonna go off of when you were talking about Mariah is she is deceptively strong. Like you don't realize how strong she actually is until there was a moment in the match, I think it was kind of towards the end, where she got Willow in a German suplex and just flung her like she was like 50 pounds. Like she just tossed her across the ring. I'm like, All right, Mariah. I see you. I see you. But yeah, this match was great. Like probably Mariah's best match to date, and that's saying something because her and
Wow.
Tony at All In was fantastic, but this was just a little bit better. Um the the little rant we were kind of talking about it before we came on. I It has nothing to do with actually Mariah. It has more to do with Willow. And in leading up to this match, I was so confused because you go back to All Out. You go back to the street fight with Willow and Stat.
Hmm.
You'd never fucking know that Stat won that match with the way they've booked both of them, technically.
Yeah.
Because who's the first one to come back? Willow. Who's the first one to get a title shot? Willow. I mean, granted, you have Stat now going against Camille and Mercedes, which is no like, small thing either. It's huge. That's a big
Right.
deal. However, that's still technically the secondary title if you think about it. Like
Mm.
you can call it what it is. The TBS title's the secondary title because I mean, granted, yeah, it's Mercedes, whatever. That's still always kind of been booked as the secondary title. So the fact that you had the person who won perhaps one of the best matches that night in Chicago have the secondary title instead, and you gave the loser of that feud a title shot for the biggest prize on the women's division. Like,
Right.
what are we doing? So when Mariah several weeks ago, I think when this whole thing was starting, when she's just like, I don't know how Willow managed to lose her way into a title shot. And I'm like, you said it. You said the thing that I've been thinking and I've been saying since this whole thing started. I'm like, why? And I'm not okay. So let me just preface it right now. Willow deserves all the success she gets. She's earned every ounce of it. This isn't like a slight on her at all, but it's just like from a booking perspective, don't you think it should have been Stat and Mariah? At least from like how, feuds and winning and losing goes for the most
Right.
part. It just didn't make sense to me. However, back to the match itself. Again, I loved it. It was great. These two had great chemistry. They did not hold anything back. Like they just kicked it into high gear right away. I mean, hell, Willow pounced the shit out of Mariah right from the beginning, and
Yeah.
that's usually like towards the end of the match. But the fans, that crowd just ate it up. Like they thought genuinely Willow was going to win towards the end, and I was getting a little nervous. Not gonna lie, I was sweating a little bit, but my girl pulled through. We still got the belt, so Mariah wins, as we should. But
Correct.
yeah, it was a great match. Two solid matches to start that show. So I also gave it 3 3/4 flames.
Nice. Oh wow. This is one where we're a little bit different. I
Yeah.
actually gave the match 4 1/4 flames.
Oh God, so we're half a
Um
flame off. Oh no.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
we're,
Oh
we're
boy.
half a flame. This is new and uncharted territory for us.
All right, we gotta leave. We gotta leave. It's already broken.
Yeah,
Like it's too bad.
we might have to go seek counseling, like partner counseling or
maybe,
something.
maybe.
Yeah, so but yeah, I thought this was a great match. Again, the physicality was off the charts. Just solidifies why I'm such a big fan of Mariah May, and
Same.
really shows me why Willow Nightingale is a money maker.
Yeah,
You know,
real deal.
she's a money maker. She's got it all. You know, so it was a
Yeah.
fantastic match. I'm very interested to see where both women go from here. But to your point about Chris Statlander, I think what overtakes all of that is the fact that out of nowhere she goes from this, now she was a heel and then she was associated with Stokely Hathaway, and then all
Yeah.
of a sudden that's not the case anymore. It lasted about a month and a half.
Yeah, it was that whole thing was so weird to me where it's like, okay, at least at least they made that promo, or at least she cut that promo where it at least made sense in a way where it was like Stokely led me astray. I admit it, I had to do what I had to do, but this is all kind of Mercedes' fault. So I'm like, all right, this is a little all right. That's where you kind of lost me a little bit, where her showing up made you have to turn on your best friend. Like, okay, that's a little weird. I'm just like, I get that you need like the good guy to go against the cocky bad guy, but at the same time, did you really need it? I mean, Stat's still going to be, I feel, more of like an anti-hero kind of persona. I don't think she's going full like Galaxy's Greatest Alien face again, but I feel like
Right.
she's going to be a little more of an edgier kind of good guy, which is good because she fits it.
Right.
It works real well for her either way, but it's just like a little bit of a whiplash with that turn there because again, I get that you needed the good guy versus bad guy, but you don't always need that dynamic. Like
Right.
people would have bought into it no matter what. Like two essentially bad guys fighting for dominance is really not that bad of a draw. I would have been okay with it if it was the way it was.
Yeah.
Granted, yes, I love stat, but it's also just like the dynamic would have worked, I thought, but clearly this is why we're here and not in the in the creative room, I guess. But either way, it's gonna be her and Stat and Camille is gonna be great. Her and
Yeah, I'm
Mercedes is gonna be great. Like I'm not surprised, but it's also just like it's kind of funky, but I'll take it. I'll take what I can get. I just still think it should have been kind of the other way around. I feel like Stat should have went for the main title first, but maybe we'll get there someday. But it is what it is.
it is what it is. So, moving on, we had the scapegoat Jack Perry defend the TNT Championship against Katsuyori Shibata. I thought this was a pretty solid match. I thought it was enjoyable
Yeah.
up until the ending. The
Ah, that was so
ending,
weird.
yeah, the
So
ending
whack.
was just they did the deal where Shibata had Jack Perry in like a rear naked choke, like a sleeper hold. Jack Perry couldn't escape, so he just falls back, and the referee counts Shibata's shoulders down to 3, but then it looked like Shibata's shoulders weren't even down, and it just made me wonder, why would they not just go for a normal finish, and why did they have to overthink this?
Again, like and it sucks because like you said, the match itself was solid. I mean, it wasn't
Yeah,
like groundbreaking or anything. It
yeah.
kind of was it was almost what's the word I want to use here? Predictable in a way because it's like you had Jack Perry as the cocky like rookie kind of whatever, and Shabbat is of course the wily veteran, just trying to like just teach him like this is what you get for like thinking you're the hot shit, whatever. So I mean, it played its role very well, I guess. Like it was good. I mean, it had some good storytelling. The match was decent. There was nothing offensive about it. And then that ending just ruined it. It just ruined it because it makes Shibata look a little silly. It makes
Yeah.
the ref look like a total dumbass. Like I feel like I don't know if it's just me. There's a short little question here. Why is it that AEW does a very good job of making their refs look incompetent every other pay-per-view? Like there's always something where it's just like, okay, no normal referee would have done that or no normal referee would have missed something like that or called something like that. It's just like what the fuck is going on? But it was just like, really? That's what we're gonna do? Okay, I guess you could have just had Jack Perry believably beat Shibata. It's not like he's this otherworldly, oh, you can't beat him kind of guy. Like he's been beaten before. He will be beaten again. It wouldn't have been it wouldn't have been a big deal. It really wouldn't have been that big of a deal. And yet, like you said, we had to overcomplicate it and do the stupid shit. So, unfortunately, this one got 3 stars for me because that ending just such
Wow,
a
you're
stinker.
yeah, you're generous because I only gave it 2 3/4.
Okay, it was still within a quarter flame, so we'll
It's
take it. But it was
still
just,
yeah,
I mean,
it's
because
still
it's like again, the match itself was solid. It was just, I mean, again, predictable, but it wasn't offensive. But that ending, Jesus, that
yeah.
ending, just ugh.
It just felt like they were trying to do too much.
Yeah, they do love to do that sometimes, and it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, luckily, what happened afterwards kind of like made me forget about all that, which is good.
Right. Yeah, that
But
was smart. That was smart. And you're alluding to the fact that after the match, Jack Perry jumps Kazuya Shibata, then Daniel Garcia comes out to make the save. Remember, Daniel Garcia just made it official saying he was staying with All Elite Wrestling and he's not going anywhere. So he came out to make the save and to protect his friend,
mhm,
Kazuya Shibata. And then we get another return in MJF returning to the ring, maybe briefly,
yeah,
because he's got all these things going on with Hollywood endeavors now. But either way, he's back. Like I said, he's even tanner. He's got more hair on his head. He looks even more jacked. And then before any sort of scuffle happens, Jack Perry attacks Daniel Garcia and it allows MJF to get the jump on Garcia. He's beating him down, and he's talking about the Dynamite Diamond Ring and how Daniel Garcia pawned it in Buffalo, blah, blah, blah. And then we get another return. We get Adam Cole, baby. He comes
Baby.
back and he comes running down to the ring. So that means that the ankle is at least good enough for him to be able to run on it. And he runs off MJF. And it looks like there's not going to be a better than you, baby reunion, thankfully, for my
I was gonna say
sanity.
thank for you, yeah.
Yeah, thankfully for my sanity. But what do you think with MJF and Adam Cole seemingly returning to All Elite Wrestling? What do you think that's going to do for All Elite Wrestling?
I mean, I feel like they could build a solid feud around it. I mean, everybody knows that we weren't the biggest fans of the whole "better than you, baby" thing. We thought it was stupid. They pandered to the fans way too much, and it blew up in their face royally, to say the least. But I feel like they can at least salvage it because these two can genuinely hate each other. So the amount of like just the promos on this feud alone is going to be insane. It's going to be wild because both of them are very good on the mic. I feel like Adam kind of has the edge a little bit because we always say he doesn't take the low hanging fruit way out. So he might get some zingers in there, which I'm definitely looking forward to. However, I don't know how soon this is going to be because I don't know if you caught it, but if you go back and watch Adam coming out of the ring, you see him when he jumps off the apron onto the floor. He kind of winces a little bit, so I don't think
Mm.
he's 100%. We'll say maybe 80 to 90% pos. I mean, at least 80, 90 because he hell ran down the ring or to
Mhm.
the ring. He can at least run. He has mobility, which is good. But I think it'll be a good feud, hopefully, unless they, like we said, overcomplicate and pander a little more to the fans. Maybe they've learned their lesson, but I still think it'll be an enjoyable feud whenever we have it, if we have it. Who knows at this point? Because MJF might just never come back from Hollywood. But it is what it is, though. It was a nice little moment because Garcia got a good reaction, MJF was there, whatever. Adam Cole got a great reaction, so kind of scrubbed away that shitty ending to the match that was before it. It was good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they do kind of a good job with like these surprise returns and things like
Yeah,
that. So again, it was good because I didn't either time has escaped me or I didn't expect Adam Cole to be back. I for some reason
I
felt like
guess.
he was I felt like he was gonna be ways away, but I guess
Yeah.
he's good to go and it's only good for AEW who can use all the star power they can get.
Yeah, yeah, especially somebody like him, preferably at 100%.
Yeah.
It'll do nothing but benefit AEW for sure.
I agree. I agree. Oh, and then that takes us into probably the most anticipated match of the evening. It was Will Ospreay, the aerial assassin, defending the AEW International Championship against the Alpha Konosuke Takeshita and Ricochet. And for me, like I said in the YouTube video, this match is to try to figure out a way to describe this match and surmise it so that way you guys know what was happening.
You
It's
can't.
just you can't. It's one of those where you put Osprey, Takeshita, and Ricochet on paper, and you go, however, this match, if I'm a wrestling fan, however I can think up a match in my head with these guys, they're actually going to do it. It was on some video game level shit. It was insane.
Yeah, like there was so much shit that happened that
Yeah.
there'd be no way that we could properly do it justice by trying to like describe it all because we can't. We just
Right.
can't. And
Yeah.
we saw obviously how well I mean obviously I did firsthand how well Osprey and Ricochet work together in the ring, which is insane. Like for just reference here, my dad has never been to a wrestling show up until the 5-year anniversary of Dynamite, and he said that was easily his favorite match. He's just like
Nice.
everything else was like quicksand in comparison to those two. He said that was insane. I'm just like, yeah, that's pretty much those two in a nutshell. And
Awesome.
throwing Takeshita into it, it didn't deter from it at all. It made it even better because it's just like he just worked with those two so well. And oh, Kyle, Kyle coming in at the breaking my damn heart. Like, fuck. Um, yeah, you kind of hope that wasn't going to be the case. Fletcher, costing Osprey the title. good on Takeshita though for winning it. I mean, it's
Right.
about damn time. You're like, oh, I don't know, 6 months too late, but you know what? We'll take it when we can get it. So congrats to him. He's more than earned it. But Kyle.
Yeah.
Oh, Kyle. You just again breaking my damn heart, man. Like that's
Yeah.
gonna be a great feud, but also, damn it, did we really have to do it? Like, did we have to? Did
Yeah.
we?
I had a feeling it was gonna go down like that after they didn't grab the tag titles.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird. It was like violent in a way because Kyle strikes Osprey in the back of the head with the screwdriver, and then like Osprey, to me it was like, oh, he almost got stabbed with it, but he kind
Yeah.
of was like sitting up in like a dazed position, like what happened?
Yeah.
And that's when Kyle revealed himself, and then this allows Konosuke Takeshita to hit a running knee strike to win the match and capture the AEW International Championship, his first championship in AEW. So, like you said, finally, well
Yeah.
deserved.
Uh-huh.
Should have been done a lot earlier, but nonetheless, he is champion at least. So, congratulations to Konosuke Takeshita. The turn of Kyle Fletcher on his best friend Will Osprey, very interesting. And then he hits Will Osprey with the Tiger
Ugh.
Driver
Ugh.
91, and it was pretty brutal,
Yeah.
so that was crazy. I gave this match the highest rating of the night. It was 4.75 out of 5
Ooh.
flames for me.
Damn. I was giving it 4.5 flames, so
Wow.
pretty close.
Yeah.
As usual, pretty close. We did the thing. I mean, we all expected going into this pay-per-view that was gonna be match of the night, and it did not disappoint at all. So yeah, rightfully so. It deserved that high rating because I mean, literally, those three could wrestle with their eyes closed and it would be an instant classic, and this one was definitely no different.
Yeah, it was just and like it wasn't like there were so many crazy moments, but it didn't feel like it was a car crash or they were like
No.
stacking these moments one on top of the other. I mean, like, and it was simple stuff too, like Takeshita cracking Osprey and Ricochet with those forearm strikes, where
Yeah.
it just like the noise that it would make from the
Mm.
connection of these strikes,
Ugh.
like
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like the
Yeah.
noise would just go through the entire arena. It was
The
bone
acoustics
chilling.
were great.
Yeah, yeah, it was bone chilling how loud these strikes from Takeshita was, and then that table spot at the end to take out
Mm.
Ricochet to make sure he wasn't involved in the finish was expertly done. I mean, it was great stuff. That's why it got the highest rating from me in particular, because it was just that good. I'm very interested now. I mean, obviously we know Osprey is going to be tied up with Kyle Fletcher.
Yeah.
Who takes on Konosuke Takeshita,
Yeah.
where that's gonna go, and then what happens with Ricochet, because Ricochet technically is still pretty new, so there's a
Yeah.
lot of interesting questions coming out of that match. But again, you said you gave it 4.5 out of
Yeah.
5. I gave it 4.75 out of 5. So once again, we're kind of in lockstep with each other.
The brain
Um,
cell was there.
yeah. And then afterwards, we get an appearance from the former
Yeah.
AEW World Champion Swerve Strickland. He returns home to his home state of Washington, and he is there with Prince Nana. Now he's having a discussion with the fans, thanking them for, pushing him during his time as AEW World Champion, when they are interrupted by MVP and Shelton Benjamin. Um, MVP is kind of wondering as to why Swerve hasn't returned any form of communication to him. He's trying to get in touch with him to inquire about having him come on board as part of MVP's little group. And they make their points as to why Swerve should leave Prince Nana. Now, this was very interesting to me. Swerve kind of played like a
Oh,
pros and cons devil's advocate
he,
sort of deal.
he was scaring me. He was scaring me for a little bit, not gonna lie. I'm
It
like,
was so well done though, because you
oh,
didn't know which
no.
way Swerve was gonna go. Like he was saying to Prince Nana, like MVP's making a lot of good points. Like
Yeah.
you got this
Yeah.
coffee deal. You keep selling weed to high school
In
kids
the parking lot,
in the
yeah.
parking lot, like like so you're like, oh my god, he's really gonna leave Prince Nana. Like it
Yeah.
was like it was like, oh my god, he's gonna do it, and then it was like, man, this always happens. No
I
one ever
know.
sticks up for the manager guy, and then
No.
right, it always feels like either the manager turns on the client or the manager gets dropped. You know,
Yeah,
but nobody ever sticks up for the manager, except for this case.
I
Swerve took us
know.
on that wild ride, and then he made it a point to say that Prince Nana is family, and you don't turn your back and you don't get rid of family. So he effectively
Ugh.
rejects MVP's offer. This pisses off Shelton Benjamin. They get into a little scuffle where officials and referees have to come out and separate the two. So it looks like maybe we're getting to start off Shelton Benjamin's AEW phase of his career to start off against Swerve Strickland, which I think is excellent. I know a lot of people are expecting Bobby Lashley to show up, and I think
Yeah.
that's definitely down the line in the near future. But I think it's smart to go from step one being Shelton Benjamin and then step two being Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it was a very good promo. Again, you making me sweat a little bit. I'm like, Swerve, please don't do this to me. I don't want to. I don't want my heart broken twice, in one night. But I'm glad he stuck up for Nana. I'm glad we can hold on to it just a little bit longer. I hope for a while because I'd rather poor Nana not get his heart broken and make
Hmm.
me sad in the process. But yeah, this is gonna be a very interesting feud to see. And then you throw Lashley into the mix, and what's gonna happen there? Is Swerve gonna get some backup because clearly he might need some? Who's gonna help him? So yeah, I'm definitely interested to see where this is gonna go.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder, like, what was the original plan with Swerve? Like,
Yeah,
what was they're gonna give him an extended time off or anything like that? And or
yeah,
because I mean, what he got like a couple weeks.
yeah. He didn't get too much. I was gonna say when was how long ago was it? Was
It
not
was
too
all
long.
in. Was his
Yeah.
last match? No,
Well,
all
now,
out. All out is
yeah,
the cage
yeah,
match.
it's about a month, give or take, maybe. Yeah, I think that sounds about right. Hold
Yeah.
on, I'll look it up. We're here, live
Live
on the
on
scene,
air. We don't. We
live on
don't.
the reporting.
Yeah, we don't have a in-staff producer for this stuff like Joe Rogan or something.
We're the
Yeah.
producers.
Yeah.
November or September 7th. So yeah, a little over a month.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
God knows he deserved it because he,
yeah, after that match, after that
ugh,
cage match,
yeah,
yeah, it
the
was
the
nuts, but
needle, the
I
needle
think
still keeps me up at night,
I don't
but.
want to think about that anymore.
I just
I definitely don't
anyway,
want to think about that, but I am happy that Swerve is back, and I'm glad that something as cool as Shelton Benjamin versus Swerve Strickland is hopefully on the horizon.
yeah.
That's just really, really cool stuff. So I can't wait for that to happen, and then eventually Bobby Lashley coming in, we'll be able to see what he does, and then create this little, Hurt Business 2.0 deal in AEW, which I think is going to be really good for them.
I think so. It's going to be very interesting to watch.
Yes, yes, definitely. And then next up on the card, we had a special attraction match, a 2 out of 3 falls match between Hologram, the undefeated Hologram, taking on the Beast Mortos. Man, this match, Hologram Mortos, I can watch a full, 2-hour AEW program of these guys just going at it. They just never cease to make me go, wow. I will say though, I feel like this match would have been even more positively recepted if it was lower on the card. If it was towards the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah, I feel like this may be a hot take, I don't know, but I feel like this was one of the matches where I'm just like I don't know if it necessarily should have been on the card. I feel like it could have been on like it could have been the main event of a Dynamite and it would have been
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
Like it
I
would have been
agree.
fantastic. It was just like I feel like when you zoom out of the card a little bit and you just see the broad spectrum of what we saw on WrestleDream, this and one other match, and I don't think it's going to take a rocket scientist to figure out which one I'm going to say next, was just kind of like it just didn't really live up to the rest of them. It just didn't match it. And that's not to say that this was a bad match. It was great. It was just like by default, it was kind of like, this is obviously not something we haven't seen before because we get it. Hologram and Mortos have fantastic chemistry. Like you said, if
Yeah.
it was just a whole like 2 hour dynamite of them, it would be fine. But it was just like it just didn't live up to pay per view hype. I guess I think it was just like Tony seeing, oh well, these two got great chemistry. Every match they have is great. We got to put them on a pay per view because they're just that good. It's like, yeah, um, that late in the card, like you said, is just kind of, they kind of got the shit end of the stick on that
Hmm.
one. I'm still gonna give it 3.5 because again, it was great, but it was
Right.
also just, yeah, this should have been on Dynamite. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say it should have been on
Yeah,
Dynamite,
it
but
would, like I said, if it was earlier in the card, like maybe the second match of the card, or
yeah,
like you said, a main event of a Dynamite or a Collision would have been fantastic. Probably up there in terms of uh match of the year quality. And it's funny, I also gave it a 3.5 out of 5
yeah,
flame rating.
yeah,
Again, it was a 2 out of 3 falls match. Hologram got the first fall with a roll-up pin after hitting Mortos with a diving crucifix bomb. Mortos gets the second fall with a backbreaker discus lariat combo, and then Hologram gets the win in the third fall, hitting his portal bomb. And like I said, and like we both said, Dynamite or Collision, main event, probably match of the year candidate. If this was maybe the second or third match on the card of the night, probably would have been higher rated. It just felt
yeah,
like after the Will Ospreay match with Ricochet and
yeah,
Konosuke Takeshita, after that and after the return of Adam Cole and MJF, it was like at this point a 2 out of 3 falls match on top of that. Like
yeah.
the crowd was hot for it. They were chanting, "This is awesome." But I felt like they probably would have been going crazy if it was earlier in the show.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It was just a, I don't know how to put it. It was just kind of bad timing, I guess. I guess that's just the best way I can put it. Just bad placement, bad timing, but still a
Yeah.
great match though.
Still a great match indeed. That takes us to the next one. Jesus Christ. Um, I'm gonna need to start going to therapy for these Darby Allen
Oh
matches. He
god.
was taking on Brody King, and these two already have history with each other. Usually, when they get in the ring with each other, it's a violent affair in its own right, and this one was no different. Just
Yeah.
yeah,
It,
it
it
was.
went about it went about as well as you expected to.
Yeah, yeah. It's like
Pain.
Darby. Why do you do this to yourself, buddy?
The steps.
The
The
steps,
steps.
the steps was crazy. The steps were
Oh.
crazy for both Brody and Darby doing the coffin drop on top of uh Brody. It was just,
But Brody stomping him with the steps,
oh
standing
my
on the
god. And
steps, like
I'm like,
ugh.
how does the steps not slice him in half?
Literally, I was waiting for blood. I was waiting for him to spit up blood and like his internal
Yeah.
organs, but it just that was just the best way I could sum this matchup is that it went about as well as you expected it to. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
just it was a typical like Darby match. He gets the shit kicked out of him. He's hanging on within an inch of his life. Somehow, some way, just seems to find a way to win though, which kind of just did it have to be Brody though? Like I just everyone knows we're House of Black, like card carrying members. So it's just
Right.
like to see poor Brody lose though, it's just like, God damn it, really? Did we really have to have him lose? It could have been anybody else, but it was fine. It was believable. It wasn't one of those where it's just like, really, after all that, he fucking loses that way. It was like, yeah,
Right.
it was believable, but it was still just like, God damn it. Like, give the House of Black something for fuck's sake. But no, the match itself great. Again, just again what you what we become to expect from a Darby Allin match at this point, just a near murder on pay per
Yeah,
view.
that's what I said. I was like, why haven't the cops been called?
Literally though, because God, it's just kind of gets to the point of just mutilation in a way. And the worst part is that wasn't even the only instance of mutilation on this card. We haven't gotten to the other one yet, but yeah, but no, it was great. Again, just pain and more pain and some pain on top of the pain. I gave it 3.5 flames.
Interesting. I gave it, guess what? I gave it three and a
Mm,
half flames as well.
of course you did 2 in a row
Yeah.
now, look at that.
I did like at the end that there was a show of sportsmanship between
Yeah.
Brody and Darby. Both men shake hands, which is kind of unexpected, not only for Brody, but in this rivalry. Like I said, these men have met before countless times, and each
Yeah.
time it's equally as violent. Like, who can forget that Casino Battle Royal where Brody had Darby in a basically a choke where he was
Yeah.
dangling his body above the ring apron. It was crazy.
Ugh, just ugh. It's just I think, like, I feel like there's very few things Darby would not be willing to do in a match. Like,
Very few, try none at all.
probably to the point of where Tony's like, "Okay, Darby, we need you to, like,
Yeah,
not because we
yeah,
might have to change the rating of the show. We may get cited, we may get fined. Like, let's not.
yeah. I
Let's just
think I
not."
think I'm interested in seeing what Tony had to say no to. You know,
Oh, I'm sure quite a bit, unfortunately. Like, I'm surprised he even said yes to the steps, but
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, after the whole 20-foot fall into a pane of glass deal, from
oh god, forget
Sting's
about that.
retirement. I
Ugh.
think I think that sort of stuff is child's play, basically.
He's gotta get lit on fire at some point, like,
No, no,
actually get lit on fire.
no! Stop putting that into the universe.
I mean, it's gotta happen at some point, like, it's just ugh, god, I forgot about the pane of glass. I think I tried to forget about it, and you just brought that back. Ugh, god.
Oh man! All right, so
Anyway.
moving on, we had excuse me, the Young Bucks defending the AEW Tag Team Championships against Private Party. Now, I was kind of stoked about this one because it really felt like Private Party earned this
Oh,
opportunity,
yeah.
and they had the nice little vignette with Amazing Red, which was pretty cool. The thing is, like, it, the match wasn't bad. The match
No.
wasn't a bad tag team match. It follows the same exact formula of all Young Bucks match. It's like
Mhm.
they do these crazy offensive moves, super kick, they go for a move, the one brother hits the other brother accidentally. It's
Yeah.
EVP trigger, kick out, EVP trigger, the person ducks so both the Young Bucks knees collides, and then they hit the EVP trigger again and they get the win. That's exactly how it went down in this match with
I mean,
Private
you co
Party.
you covered it all,
Yeah, like
I
it's just
feel like god, I feel like it was pretty much just to make Private Party look good, and it did. We're not gonna say it didn't, it did. It made him look great. The crowd was behind him the whole way. So much so that you can tell the exact moment when the ref's hand hit 3, that crowd's energy got sucked out of that arena. It was just, like, dead, gone, and it's, like, kinda makes you wonder if maybe they should've just given him the titles during that, like, that part, because they could have. I mean, it's not like Private Party would have won and it wouldn't have been believable. It fully would have been believable if they won that and won the titles. But I guess we'll have to wait until Full Gear, perhaps. I mean, I feel like they have to now. I feel like if they lose 2 times in a row, yikes. Like it's not going to be good. But yeah, it just seemed like again a copy and paste Young Bucks match. So it was kind of like, okay, it was good. You made Private Party look good, which is a plus.
mm,
But it was also just like, okay, what else have we haven't seen? It's like it's kind of like a Darby match, but in like a bad way, where it's just like, okay, we've seen this before. Could you spice it up just a little bit, guys? Like, please. At least Darby, it's like there's going to be pain, but they always spice it up onto like, how is he going to almost get murdered on television or on a pay per view? But the Young Bucks is just like certain like repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Yeah, it's just, and it sucks because I don't know. I'm just gonna say I feel like Private Party should have won that match. I'm sorry, like
wow.
they just finally, I think, finally AEW's remembered how to actually book them as a serious tag team and not just like a comedy act anymore. Because it's almost just like for a while, you would just look at Private Party and go, "This was the same team that upset the Young Bucks in the very beginning for the tag titles and the tournament." And this is what they've been reduced to, really? Like, this is kind of a joke, and it was a joke. So I'm glad that they've kind of remembered they can be a like legitimate tag team again. I just think they should have won it. I'm just gonna say it. They should have won it, but at least maybe they can right that wrong, or maybe, or whatever you want to call it, a full gear. But for this match, I'm gonna give it 3 1/4 flames.
Interesting, interesting. I actually gave it the same rating, 3 1/4
Three in a
flames.
row. Damn.
Yeah, three in a
Oh
row.
boy. Oh
Yeah,
boy.
it was the match wasn't bad. It just
No.
we've seen this exact match from the Young Bucks like a bunch of times. Like you said, it was a copy and paste Young Bucks match.
Yeah. Pretty
Um,
much.
not only that, I would love to see them kind of defend the titles more. Maybe if they took
Yeah.
on different tag teams,
Yeah.
the people wouldn't feel because like they don't defend the belts often, and when they do, it's the same exact match that they had last time. So
Same thing.
it's like what's the point? Like you should have gave
What are
the
we
belts
doing?
to you should have gave the belts to Private Party at that point.
Yeah. Literally. It's just ugh. Give us
Yeah.
something. You also have to kind of show up a little more. That probably, well, that's a problem. If you wanted to defend it more, they'd have to show up more. And
Right.
clearly that seems to be an issue. So whatever. It
Yeah.
is what it is what it is. Hopefully by full gear we don't have to worry about it anymore. But
All right.
we'll
So
see.
then next up, oh boy, I guess we do have to talk about this. It's Mark
Let's just
Briscoe.
get through it real quick. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it was Mark Briscoe defending the ROH World Championship against the Learning Tree Chris Jericho, who was going for his 9th world title. Again, I don't know the reason why you would need to not only give Chris Jericho a world title shot, why give
Yeah.
him a spot on a pay-per-view and not on a pre-show? Why does it have to be the second to last match on the
Hmm.
card?
Yeah.
Like why? What does Chris Jericho have on Tony Khan? Like,
It's blackmail. It's
yeah,
fully blackmail
I
at this
want to know
point.
what it is. Like, okay, you know me. As much I dislike Chris Jericho, I have to be unbiased. The match wasn't bad.
It was
Did it?
okay.
Yeah, it was. Did it deserve to be on a pay per view? Absolutely
No,
not. Because
not at all.
the match wasn't anything to write home about. Nothing noteworthy really happened. It was a solid match. It would have been great as a main event on a Dynamite or Collision. It would have
Yeah.
been fine. But like the second to last match on a pay per view,
No. No, no,
insane,
no. Not even fucking close. Like,
insane.
this was clearly the one I was alluding to earlier, where I'm like, this and Hologram and Mordos were the two where I'm just like, this really didn't
Right?
need to be on the pay per view.
Yeah.
Honestly, and it's just, oh, and I hate saying it because Hologram and Mordos was a great match, but it's almost just like, I feel like the pay per view overall would have been improved if these two weren't on the like two matches weren't on the card, which is a shame because you have to lump Hologram and Mordos with Jericho, but that was just kind of like how great the other matches were, that just in comparison these two in particular were just like, this is fine, I guess. I mean, yeah, the match wasn't bad, but I'm just sitting there and I'm like, oh, can this just end? Like, can it just end? Because I don't want to watch this. I just don't want to watch it. Please. Like, I'm over it. I'm already tired. And I even had to like slightly skim through this pay-per-view and I was already tired up until this match. So putting it second to last, it's like, do you really want the crowd to just fall asleep before the main event? Like, is that what you were doing? Maybe that's what they were doing. Maybe that was the plan. We're gonna give them a little nap. They can fall asleep, and then they have to wake up in like a couple more minutes because the paper or the main event's on. So maybe that was Tony's idea. Maybe
May-
that's what it was.
Maybe, but
Make
for
them sleep.
this match in particular, Chris Jericho, he lost. Thankfully, he
God,
lost to Mark
thank
Briscoe.
God.
Mark Briscoe retains the ROH World Championship with the Jay Driller. He wins it. I gave this match 3 1/4 flames out of 5.
I gave a 3.
The
Streak's
streak
over.
and the streak's over.
Well, but not technically not though, because
I
we,
mean, yeah, the quarter streak still lives.
yeah, the
But
brain cell's still there.
yeah, yeah. So there it is. That's the Chris Jericho Mark Briscoe match, taking us to the main event. Obviously,
Ugh.
for the World Heavyweight Championship, it is Bryan Danielson defending the title against his former stablemate in the Blackpool Combat Club. He is John Moxley. But this one, we
Uh,
talk about the Young Bucks being like a copy and paste match. This was, I won't go as extreme as saying it was a copy and paste Bryan Danielson match. It did follow
yeah.
the same formula as it's been following for the past couple months. However, it's a brilliant genius like performance to always get the top billing. I mean, it doesn't beat out the international championship match as far as best match on the card, but
Oh
it
god,
was
no.
still it was still a solid Bryan Danielson match.
Well, here's my thing. I feel like the easiest the easiest way I can put this was that this really wasn't so much a wrestling match as opposed to a brawl.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
feel like the point was just to let's see how brutal we can have John Moxley be to just get Danielson to just essentially, not really, but essentially die in the ring. Because that was really the only way this match was going to end. Because I feel like it would have been catastrophic, at least storyline wise, if Moxley somehow would have lost, because it would have you would have had all of this build up to have him lose. So it wasn't really a shock that Moxley won. It was just more or less the fact that I mean, I guess to the crowd, the fact that they actually did it, or
Right.
just the fact that it ended like that, where it was
Right.
just like, we're really doing this, like we're
Right.
really gonna do this, and I feel like needless to say, I feel like the ending was very controversial for people.
Mhm.
I feel like you either loved it or you hated it, and to be fair, I didn't really see a lot of people that loved it. I feel like a lot of people were like, "Really? This is how you're going to have Danielson's like I mean full-time in-ring career end is
Mhm.
stretchering him off after being once again executed with a plastic bag?" Like
Yeah.
which I mean, I get it. I agree slightly, but I feel like his triumphant moment technically was all in. So
Right.
everything after that was kind of a not a bonus. Like I wouldn't really call this a bonus, but it was just like how else were you going to have his career end like that, especially with the way the storyline was set up? You weren't going to have some triumphant like, "Oh, well, I lost, but I still got my friends to help me." It's just like, yeah, but what good was that going to do for Moxley and them? That
Right.
wasn't going to further legitimize that group as just a group of just thugs in a way. That's pretty much the best way to put it, is just thugs, because you couldn't have had Danielson come out of that triumphant in any way possible to have Moxley and that group look like a threat moving forward. Which so it was kind of like they kind of had their hands tied as
Right.
usual of their own doing, because
Mhm.
how else would they have done it? So I get why they had to do it the way they did,
Right.
but at least as much as I didn't really agree with the fact that they had to do it that way, I at least give them props for going all out on it. Where you had, I mean, for God's sakes, you had Excalibur crying, you had Tony saying he was like embarrassed to be in AEW, and the thing that caught me the most was the fact that Nigel McGuinness, up until the end of that match, was just
Right.
praying and hoping Danielson was going to lose. He just wanted to see like karma bite him in the ass, and then the fact that he loses, and McGuinness even admits like, "Oh, I didn't really expect it to feel like this." That's
Yeah.
when it hits you like, "Oh shit, this is some next level drama, trauma, like insanity."
Right.
And Yuta, my god, like I felt like they were going to do it, but then like they kind of hinted at it at the 5-year anniversary of Dynamite, cuz they couldn't really didn't really look like he was going to swing one way, and then he didn't swing, and then whatever, but then it's just like to have him do it there of all times is just oh, it asks so many questions. There's so many questions after the show where it's just like, where does everybody go from here? Like, okay, what are you gonna do with Danielson? I mean, essentially, he's done. Like that's just he's
Yeah.
done. Like there's no like, oh well, he'll come back and do it. No, he's like done.
Well,
Like Tone done.
Well, that's the thing. They keep saying he's done as an active competitor. They keep hammering that. So I'm wondering
Yeah.
if that's sort of like a smoke signal, he's done, but he's not done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, that could be a slippery slope of like to go down unless you know how to really like book it that way.
Right.
But then it's like, okay, well, where does Moxley and the rest of them go from here? Because like they said, he's been speaking in riddles ever since he came back, so it'd be nice to actually, get some type of answer, maybe.
Right.
What's Yuta gonna have to say about this other than just sorry? Like that's all he's been saying is sorry. So it's like he's gonna have to answer for himself.
Yeah.
Where's Darby and all of them gonna go from here? Because you had half the locker room out there trying to help him. Like poor
Right.
Darby. You felt so bad for the guy. Like I feel like, at least for me, I kind of made the connection of maybe he's gonna say like, well, I clearly wasn't 100%, and it wasn't enough to like help Danielson. If I was 100% and I hadn't been in that match with Brody, maybe I could have helped him more or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's see, the thing is, my interpretation of this match, uh, um at first it happened, we were watching it all in Discord. We had a bunch of people in the Discord watching it with me, hanging out, and we all instantly was like, that was shit. Like
Yeah,
we were booing it, and
yeah,
everything, at first, because it just felt like, I felt like if Moxley would have put him away with like a Death Rider or a Paradigm Shift, like
yeah,
something really emphatic, then I would have bought into it. I felt like the Brian passing out and not responding to the referee spot, it
yeah,
just it didn't do it. But I will say, in terms of the decision, I hated the decision at first because
yeah,
maybe it was the finish to the match, but I kind of equate it to like when the Undertaker lost at WrestleMania. It wasn't that big of a
hmm,
moment, but it gave me
yeah.
that same sort of feeling, like, did that really happen, or was
It made
there,
you uncomfortable.
right? It made you uncomfortable because what really happened, you were trying to deny what you just saw, basically.
Yeah, like there's no way he lost like that. There's no way
Right,
his like
right, right.
whole career's over like that. Yeah,
Right,
like
right.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so I feel like that played a part, and it's kind of okay for AEW because it's going to get people talking for a while.
yeah.
I mean, it's sort of like the Sopranos finale, where it just goes
Yeah,
goes
yeah,
straight black, and then for years people are like, well, did he die, did he live, why did they end it this way? It's sort of like that. It's up to your
yeah,
interpretation, like, as to the severity of the moment. Did you enjoy it? Or you're still going to be talking about it for years. And then again,
yeah.
there's the factor of, they keep saying he's not going to be an active competitor. So does that mean he's going to be like a
Yeah.
yearly attraction? Like,
Maybe. I mean, I feel like this is more, I mean, right now it's more all about like about Danielson more, but I feel like inevitably this is going to morph into more Darby Allin, because I can see them going in the direction of Moxley being like, "See, you couldn't even help your friend. You couldn't even help your like mentor, your hero or whatever. You watched him die on the mat. Not really, but you know what I mean, where it's
excuse
just
me.
like
Yes.
you couldn't do it. You couldn't cut it. See, I told you you weren't cut out for this. You're not supposed to be champion." Because I feel like
Right.
that's where they're going with this. Like
Right.
I feel like Darby's going to get the redemption story and finally beat Moxley for the title, whether it's not
Hmm.
until next year maybe. I feel like that's where they're going. I think. Because why else would you have had Moxley beat him for his title shot? Why else would you have the camera focusing on literally nobody else except Darby the entirety of the ending of that match, as uncomfortable as it was to watch? They're all leading this up for Darby to get that redemption finally, because people are going to feel bad for him. They probably feel bad for him right now, where it's like, wow, you just watched someone you looked up to and admired just get stretchered out of his career, essentially. Like, you couldn't even imagine how he's feeling right now. It's going to be interesting to see what his first like promo is after this,
Right.
because I feel like that's where they're going. This is going to be like Darby's redemption story inevitably, and of course it has to start like it's kind of like it's kind of like Star Wars in a way, which of course of all people, me saying that's like sure whatever, but it's like you start with a New Hope where you got the upstart heroes gonna like stick it to the villain and they get one up on him at some point, and then you get to Empire Strikes Back and everything goes to shit. Everything goes to shit for the good guys. That's where we are right now. Inevitably, we're going to get to Return of the Jedi, where Darby's Luke Skywalker, and he's going to finally vanquish Darth Vader. That's
Hmm.
John Moxley, and he's going to finally get the courage and the strength, and he's gonna find the determination to do it. Like that's literally how they're setting this up, at least in my mind. But
I like that. I'm not a big Star Wars guy, but I like that synopsis of Darby coming back as like Luke Skywalker and doing it
yeah,
for the good of AEW. I
like if
feel
you know,
like
you know.
yeah, I feel like that's what they were trying to do with this whole elite storyline, and it just they fell flat. So it's just like
Yeah,
I like the way you drew it up. I think that would be great. I think it's very creative. It's all in the hands of AEW if they can harness that creativity and give us a story that makes sense.
yeah.
You have to give. I mean, the current phase of the Blackpool Combat Club is very interesting to me, especially now with Wheeler Yuta. I feel like Wheeler still didn't want to do this.
It didn't look like it, and like, because like they're saying, you have so many questions now. Did he do it on purpose?
Yeah, I
Did
don't
he like? Yeah, like it's so many questions that no,
right. I feel like he did it on purpose, but I feel like
maybe,
maybe he was getting gaslit, like or like
yeah,
manipulated in a way, to like because like they're going like
yeah,
it was almost like I said it last time. They're going to constantly just trauma on Wheeler Yuta's psyche, you know? Like they're gonna
yeah,
just constant because they know they have that control over him, so they're just
yeah,
constantly gonna prey on the fact that his mental state is very fragile right now. He had to
yeah.
take out his mentor,
Gonna tear him down.
yeah, so it's just like they're gonna manipulate, and maybe down the road, in a year's time, that's when Yuta finally snaps, you know,
Maybe.
and then Wheeler Yuta, after being subjected to all this trauma from the BCC for a whole year, snaps and then systematically takes them out one by one, ending with
Yeah,
John Moxley. Maybe at this time, John Moxley got the belt back from Darby, if we're keeping up with your storyline,
yeah.
and then it makes Wheeler Yuta look like a main event player. I think all of that would be very interesting.
It kind of the way you described it almost kind of reminds me of when Danielson with the whole Wyatt family.
That's what I had in my head.
Yeah, see, see, I get what you're putting down.
Yeah, I
Look at us go
definitely
as usual. Like what else is new?
I definitely had that in my head as I was explaining it, so it definitely works for me.
Yeah,
It's just there's a lot that you can do here. It's just going to take time, which I don't like. I always said this about AEW. I said we're not looking for 5 bloodline level stories in AEW.
no,
Maybe one bloodline level story and then 4 stories underneath that maybe not on the same level. Here's the thing. And I'm not trying to compare the two and trying to pit them against each other. But the one
no.
thing you realize about the current phase of creativity in WWE is that everything on the show has a purpose. It's
Yeah,
not just thrown there for no reason. It's going to follow, either it's going to be the starting point or part of or the end point of a story, whether big or small, it's still going to be part of a story. So that's kind of what AEW has to do, is like, let's make, even if it's like 10% drama, let's just not
yeah,
put this on the show, on the card, if it's not for a reason, instead
yeah,
of trying to get a high rating, trying to get a "this is awesome" chant. Let's put this on the card, but let's put some creativity behind it. Let's just not say this is wrestler A and this is wrestler B and they're going to wrestle. Let's put some creativity, some drama behind it.
yeah. Exactly.
And
I couldn't
that's
have said it better myself.
yeah, and that's what they're doing here with Brian Danielson, Wheeler Yuta, and John Moxley and Darby Allin. It's just now they have a perfect opportunity to get in the groove of, let's do some long term storytelling, 6 months, 4 to 6
Yeah,
months, and then bridge off of that to a year and just keep going. They really have the opportunity to do that. So hopefully they can follow some sort of formula and make it happen. As far as the match, I gave it 3 3/4 flames out of 5. What about you?
3 3/4 flames out of 5.
Wow. Yeah.
Look at us. Out of half the card, we got the same ratings. That's not surprising. That
not
is
surpri-
literally not surprising.
not surprising whatsoever. So
Nope.
there you have it. That is the entire AEW WrestleDream card. broken down for you guys with match ratings as well. Now, overall, what would your rating be for the entire show?
I'd say a solid 3 3/4 flames. I feel like again, you hate to go back to those two matches we talked about with Mordos and Hologram and Jericho and Briscoe, but I think if those two would have been taken off the card, I feel like it would have been a solid 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
But it was just you kind of drug down just a tiny bit, but I don't think it fully overtook the show where it's just like, oh god, those two just completely ruined that whole show for me. It was just they just didn't live up to the rest of the card. It was just that good.
Right, right. So yeah, I gave it 3 3/4 out of 5. What about you?
3 3/4.
3 3/4. Might as well, right? We're on
Yeah,
this.
why not? Really?
we're
End it
on.
on the normal.
Yeah, we're on the same page, so might as well keep it that way.
Keep it
It,
going.
it was a good show. I think
Yeah.
it was worth the extensive price for a pay-per-view in
Yeah.
2024. Um but I still think it was a good show. The ending was dramatic. It's going to
Yep.
get people talking. Like you said, at this time people may not be into the execution, but when they analyze it 6 months down the road from now, especially with what happened after, with
Yes.
Danielson getting excommunicated once again, executed, they're gonna be like, okay, maybe that was pretty good. That was okay at least. It was just shocking. Uh,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
but again, good on them. And I hope that when they do move over to Max, like if we get cheaper pay-per-views or it's part of the subscription, anything to help me out, please, Tony Khan.
You give him a break, please.
Please. You're hurting me anyway. But again, enjoyable show. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our breakdown of the AEW WrestleDream pay-per-view. Before we get out of here, let's go through all the particulars as quickly as possible. Just let you guys know you can find this podcast. It's available on any podcast platform that you use. If it so happened to not be on the platform that you use, you can hit us up on social media, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. The handle is at Ringside Rundown. You can hit us up, let us know what platform you use. We will get you a link to that platform on a silver platter, but the caveat is you have to give us back the silver platter because we only have one and it's very expensive.
One of
One
one.
of one, and I believe Shay's mom, she got it for us. So if we give it
Yeah.
away, she's gonna
Yeah.
be very, very angry with us, and we don't want to do that. So
No, I don't want to deal with that,
yeah,
please.
but
For my sake.
we will get you a link to your platform of choice, so that way you can follow, subscribe to the podcast, and never miss an episode. Like I said, you can hit us up on social media, Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at Ringside Rundown. You can follow along the podcast with full episodes and highlights and short form content on YouTube at Ringside Run Pod on YouTube, including a long form video that I spent 2 days editing and putting together, talking more about WrestleDream and all that stuff. So hopefully you guys check it out because this editing stuff is hard.
Not for the faint of heart,
Yeah,
that's for
it's
sure.
hard trying to make it look cool and like, okay, I feel like a YouTuber now. Move over, Mr. Beast.
I feel like a content creator
Yeah,
now.
I'm a real life content creator now. So
Yeah.
definitely go check out the YouTube at Ringside Run Pod. We're also on TikTok where you can find short form highlights of the streams that I do on Twitch, ringside_rundown. But don't worry, I don't do any weird influencer dances on
No.
TikTok. It's just highlights of the stream that I do on Twitch, twitch.tv/ringside rundown. If you want to watch Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, Collision with me, all those shows I watch on Twitch. So you can watch me, watch the shows, and chat with us in chat. Now they're learning how to make silly jokes and activate commands and drive me crazy. It's a madhouse, but it's a lot of fun. And they're going crazy. We also have Ringside Rundown merch, which you can find on fourthwall.com. If you need a hoodie, beanies, long sleeve shirts, going crazy. And obviously, if you want to talk wrestling with me personally, you can reach me on Twitter at Erik Ringside underscore. At Erik Ringside. Yeah, Erik Ringside underscore. I don't even remember my own handle. Anyway, Shay,
It's
where
fine.
can they get in touch with you?
You can find me on Twitter at ShaileneHickson21 talking about so many things. I'm in the middle of a lot of things. Like it's hockey season, it's football season. My
She's
favorite artist is coming out with a new album in like 2 weeks, so
she's a
that's yeah,
multi-fandom connoisseur.
pretty much. It feels like that, honestly.
Anything from sports, Star Wars, music, anything you can think of.
Tattoos.
Tattoos, she's on it, man. And she's busy. She's actually a fun wrestling nerd that likes to touch grass and be an adult.
Yeah, literally, I keep my opinions most of the time to myself unless they're good. So,
Well, next week, I believe we'll be back with our original format of the show where you guys can send us in questions about anything you want to know our opinions on in the world of professional wrestling, whether it would be AEW, WWE, anything you want us to answer on the show when it comes to wrestling. We will do that on the next episode. Is that correct, Shay?
yeah, seems about right. Yeah.
Because now all of a sudden we have to check our schedules and we have to check the
Yeah. Yeah.
calendars and we have to make sure it lines up with shows and stuff like that. We're like
Yeah.
we're busy content creators now.
We're doing the best we can.
We're
We're hanging in there.
we're hanging in there, right about that. Hanging in there with as little sleep as possible. And
Yeah, you need to get the sleep. You need
well,
the sleep.
it's funny, I'm recording this podcast while watching game 2 of the ALCS.
Oh God.
Yes, it's the 7th inning. The Yankees are up, and my baseball ulcer is flaring up at the same time.
I feel like you and Damian Priest probably. Like
Yeah,
you two are probably freaking out.
we feel that's our close kinship.
Yeah.
That's our
Yeah, pretty
close
much.
kinship. Oh, it's a foul ball, thankfully. Thank God. Okay. Let me get the hell out of here before I have a full-on breakdown on this recording. Remember, you can check it out on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Good Pods, Radio Republic, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find this on there. If not, hit us up on social media and we'll get you a link. Thank you guys for Shay Hickson. My name is Eric Vasquez, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Ringside Rundown Podcast. Take care.
See you later, guys.